I'd like to call this July 27th, 2026 Special Board of Education meeting to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mr. Helms?
Here.
Mr. Micco?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
He will not be attending tonight. He is delayed traveling.
And Mrs. Hausum?
Here.
4 present.
Could you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is the strategic priorities. Our district has developed and is currently engaged in a 3-year strategic plan which reflects the values, beliefs, and hopes of our students, staff, parents, and community. There are 4 strategic priorities to the plan: transforming teaching and learning, aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and leveraging funding and facilities. Our strategic priorities give actionable focus to our district's purpose and mission and guide the work of our strategic plan. Next on the agenda, we do have need to go into executive order
Mrs., before that, you want
I'm
the
sorry.
change of the agenda?
Yes, I'm so sorry, George. We do need to make a change to the agenda with the absence of Mr. Wall. We're going to do our second vote on the resolutions for the operating levy and the income tax, but we're going to change those to discussion items tonight, unless anyone has anything against that, so that we can be a full board to vote on that. Okay.
And then with that, what I would suggest is on Thursday, we have our board retreat scheduled. However, we can make our board retreat anytime in the summer. So, Ms. Hausum, I would recommend that instead of the board retreat, we would change the purpose of that special meeting on Thursday where the board could take action, assuming Mr. Wall will be back in town, and have a full complement of the board together. So that would be July 30th, 6:30 p.m. The agenda would be the remaining items to vote on those 2 issues.
I personally think that's a great idea. I'm not sure. Other board members, how do you guys feel about that?
Good with it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we will change Thursday night's meeting to do our voting.
And we'll send out the meeting notices, the cancellation for the board retreat, followed by a new meeting notice for the special meeting.
Okay, very great, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And it's to consider the appointment, or to consider a complaint against a public official.
Thank you. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Micco?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes. We will enter into executive session at approximately 7:40, and we hope to be back out in public session by 8:15. Resume public session at 8:18 p.m. I just want to get the crowd up to date. Before executive session, we were notified that our board member, Eric Wall, is detained traveling. So we decided that the resolutions to vote on the operating levy and the income tax, we are going to turn that into a discussion tonight. And we will have another special meeting this coming Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. here at the admin building to do the voting. Next on the agenda is public comment. I have one slip for public comment. Karen Autry, if you could approach the podium and give us your name and address, and you have approximately 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Karen Autry. I live at 18181 Saratoga Trail in High Point. Okay, what I want to bring up is the different types of taxes that you can have and whether the fairness to different individuals. One, when you're doing, first off, no school board in Cuyahoga County has a traditional income tax for schools. First off, you would have to pay another entity to collect the taxes. So everyone will have to file 2 different tax forms, pay 2 different checks. You know, another thing for an accountant. But a traditional income tax would be on everything that you earn that is taxable on your adjusted gross income in the state of Ohio, except for Social Security and your deductions. That would be an extreme burden on retirees because they have to withdraw RMDs from their IRAs, forced. Can't deny, you cannot not do that. You have investment income. They're living off this. They have no way to actually have an earned income. And it will fluctuate. But it is also unfair to young families who are trying to save to send their children to school, to pay for things, to save for a down payment on a house. And thirdly, a traditional income tax would exempt all property taxes for commercials. So that means Costco will no longer participate in paying for school taxes. It will be strictly on the burden of residents in, our 44,000, which would be considerably less people, probably only about 20,000 that earn income in Strongsville. And no one can budget. You will not be able to budget because you do not know how much money you will get every year. If we go into this very serious layoffs that they're anticipating for AI, how much money will you get? You will not be able to figure out what you can do because people will be laid off. It has happened in the past. But if you have a property tax, one, everybody can budget. They know how much it's going to be. You will get commercial participation in supporting our schools. And to me, I think that when you know what it's going to be, even if it is unpleasant, you can plan for it. And it's very difficult when you're going to tell someone that is laid off, you got to pay these taxes, on top of all the property taxes that you have. But to tell an 85-year-old person, you're barely making it. Go get a job at Mark's so you can pay your taxes. That just doesn't sound fair. And it doesn't sound reasonable, and it makes it difficult for everyone. Not just me, not just for my neighbor, but for all of you here that are trying to keep our schools running. And the only cities that have traditional school districts that have traditional taxes are rural areas in which it is farmland, in which farmland property taxes are exceedingly low. And I could see when there's not that many people that, yes, you might have to tax their full earned income. But we're not that. We're a city. We have high values in the city. And when you're looking at young families will typically have a much lower cost home. And old people, your 80-year-old, not 80 yet, but hopefully we'll make it there, is that they bought in when Strongsville was young, in which we had low-cost homes. And so the middle is, the people that are earning more money than anyone else. And so it just sort of seems fairer to make everybody know what they will owe every single year. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, Karen Vassal. If you could state your name and address, and you have approximately 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Karen Bassel. I live at 20338 Westwood Drive. There's a number of questions kind of feeding off of what she was talking about with the higher taxes that I don't see where you guys are coming from with answering our questions. And Cameron, you said you wanted questions instead of just assumptions, so these are my questions. My questions are, number one, you have to attend a conference out of state. Are you going to that conference, or are other people going with you? This is taxpayer-funded trips that we have to pay for. Why are we paying for them? Especially, and if it's something you have to attend, why does anybody else have to attend it? And why can't we do Zoom meetings? You have plenty of Zoom meetings any other time. So this is one of my questions for you. Number two, negotiating better contracts. When you've got a contract where you have to go to a certain place to buy a certain thing, and it costs 5 times more than Walmart does, why do we have that contract? As a consumer, I shop around. I go for my best deal, and that's where I shop. Why are we locked into a contract where we have to go to this specific store and pay an exorbitant amount of money for something that is not necessary? And this goes for all the supplies, as far as I'm concerned. Why aren't we juggling staffing? Why are we having, instead of cutting people out, why don't we juggle the staffing so that more people are utilized for certain times of the day? If you need more people at the beginning of the school day or at the end of the school day, why aren't we scheduling according to that? With the custodians, why aren't we scheduling the custodians more for the afternoon and the evening shifts instead of during the day, when you don't need 3 custodians sitting there doing nothing? Doing nothing all day long. You could have one custodian, a head custodian, actually doing the job, and then the rest of the custodians could be later on in the shift when they're actually needed. And the fourth thing is, and I'm not going to lie, transparency here. What is your pay rate? Are you guys taking a pay cut? Because the last time it was updated in the system was 2022. This is 4 years later. I don't know what your pay is, and I'm paying the taxes for this. My taxes are paying this. I think we have a right to know what administration is earning and justify it. Justify why you're getting $300,000 or whatever it is your pay is. Justify this. Because I think we have a right to know that as a taxpayer. Thank you for your time.
Next, Nathan Powell. Nathan, if you could state your name and your address, and you have approximately 3 minutes.
My name is Nathan Powell. Ms. Pelko, Mr. Ryba, Ms. Wolf, everybody, you know why I'm here. Because it's to demand the same thing I've demanded for 4 months now. Every single one of your resignations for what you have allowed to continue in this school system, starting with Mr. Taloni and his blatant, false accusations of my child assaulting another child from behind. Yet, in the next 3 years, you're getting $30,000 pay raise. This school year, the board member is getting, every board member's, their budget is going up by $5,000. Your new assistant, you're going to be $30,000 more budget just for your line alone, Mr. Ryba. Yet you want to send emails about what happens when we, myself, a disabled veteran with 4 boys in the school system, we can't afford it. Nobody can. But I find it a very hard pill to swallow to watch your lines, your pockets line, like this is a business. And this is exactly what you guys are treating it as. For 4 months now, I have sent emails to every single one of you, starting with you, Not one of you had the courage to stand up and say, Mr. Tellini, this isn't right, something's a little messed up here. And you were in the viewing of the video when another boy attacked my boy from behind twice and took him to the ground. And then Mr. Tellini only said about the first 4 seconds that something happened, my boy turned around and started swinging and punching. My child adamantly denies it. The next day, Mr. Tellini, oh, sorry, wait. I see he does something. Your child gets him off of him. The boy kind of goes to the ground, and then he starts swinging, or he goes at my boy again, and then all the punches and kicks. And then 3 or 4 times on video, in the appeal hearing, we caught him, Ms. Pelko, in a bold-faced lie. Because not only did he start with the lie and failed to tell me about the 2 times in the 40 seconds with all 4 principals and 3 staff members of other various levels, all in the area, by your email. Then Mr. Telloni says that the boy got 10 to 15 feet away after attacking my child twice, and that my child closed the gap and attacked him with punches and kicks to the head. It's all on videotape, the testimony. And we didn't get that story first. We got the 2 seconds of, yeah, the kid did something, but couldn't really tell, and then punches and kicks. Then it changed 4 times. The other boy took my kid down twice. And at the point here, this is where Mr. Telloni says that my boy closed the gap, attacks and punches to the head. When in fact, my boy is still on the ground after being taken down from behind twice by the same kid, who is walking 10 to 15 feet away while my kid is on the ground. This boy pivots, charges my son, clear as day while he's still on camera, while he's still on the ground getting up. He didn't see this boy coming at him again for the 3rd time. But you're damn right, he did start throwing punches. Because for the 3rd time, after being blamed for everything initially, we finally get the full truth. And you did not have the courage to do anything about it. You messed with the wrong veteran. You did, and the rest of you ignored it. I've tried calling you. Ms. Bissell, the problems in December, before March, what I'm talking about now, yes, here we are again, right? What did I tell you? Is that video still ready?
I have it saved, yeah.
Huh? You saved it. And it better not go anywhere. It better not go anywhere. You want your raises? I want your jobs. All of them. I don't know how much time I got, but I'll stand here until you tell me something. Like, we'll try. Maybe, Ms. Wolf, it's been 4 months. Yesterday was 4 months.
Mr.
Have you
Powell,
even seen the video?
Mr. Powell, public comment is a time for us to listen to the public.
Yes.
The board does not
I know,
have to
you've got an
respond.
excuse every time
And
I've got a question. Everybody does. You
Your
all
3
do.
minutes
You all, it
are up.
was more of a rhetorical statement, because I know you haven't. I know you haven't. None of you have the courage to email back. None of you have the courage to look into it. And you, of all people, should have seen both by now.
Mr. Powell, we appreciate you coming to talk.
I don't think you do. Just don't lie to me anymore. Fix it. For many of you, resignation is the only thing I will accept at this point, because you have put my child in danger, you have put other children in danger, glossed over the violence that they received so that our bullying situation looks better. Mr. Tellini's professional career looks better. In 3 years, maybe he'll have Ryba's job, and because the bullying situation got better under Ryba's, who knows where he'll go. I hope the state forms come down, the investigation. Everything. Do not have the gall, the courage to stand here and ask us for our money.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Moving on with the agenda. Next, we have Board of Education Other. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ryba.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. We are going to start, as we've been talking about reduction plans related to our finances and our future levies. So there's two documents that I want to share. One is some slides that go over our funding survey summary, the survey that we did of our parents and community members that are linked to us and staff, as well as take a look at the Phase 2 reduction plan. So I'm going to share this so that anybody with the link can access it here in a minute. So that's there. So again, as anybody that's a link to our school district knows, we sent out a survey to get feedback on a few different areas. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the results of that survey related to the reduction plan. So first of all, in the survey that we gave, I just wanted to give a high-level overview of participants. So we had a great response. We had 613 people respond to the survey. Of those 613, 403 were parents, 153 staff members, and then 57 were community members that live in Strongsville but don't have students in our district. So again, for different surveys that we've given, this is a good response rate for feedback. One of the first questions we asked, we gave context to people that, hey, we've already talked about Phase 1 reductions that would go into place this upcoming school year, and those would total $1.8 million. A lot of those were budgetary reductions. They were attrition, not replacing retirees. And we shared that as a part of this whole discussion that the board's been having, we are taking a look at additional reductions that would go into effect in the 27-28 school year, so not this upcoming school year, the next one. And we were looking in the range of $2 to $3 million. And so we asked the question of this additional reduction of $2 to $3 million, do you think it should be larger than that? Do you think $2 to $3 million is about right? Should it be smaller than that, or should we not make any additional reductions at all? And so as you can see, as you take a look at the top circle, that is overarching everybody that responded. So that's all 613 people totaled, that the majority, 41%, said we shouldn't implement any of that $2 to $3 million reduction, followed by kind of an even split between the reductions are right, but maybe should be a little smaller, and then the smallest percentage was that they should be larger. But we broke that down by looking at different demographic groups. So we had 3 different groups: staff, parents, and community members. And if you take a look at how it was just for those groups, you could see for community members, they tended to say, hey, that $2 to $3 million is good, as well as maybe reducing a little bit more. Parents were the opposite, where they said, hey, the reductions should be, predominantly the reductions should be smaller, or no additional reductions at all. And then the staff, the majority of the staff was in that middle ground of, yeah, they're about right, or if we could go a little smaller, that would be great. So that's just in terms of the $2 to $3 million overall, where people felt, and by demographic group. Then we asked another question. We gave a variety of reductions that could possibly happen and asked people to rate their priorities in preserving them, from this is essential to preserve to this is important to preserve, kind of I'm somewhat invested in it, to, hey, we don't need to have it as a priority at all. So you can see 92% means if I combine those top two areas, it's essential to preserve and it's something that's important to preserve, 92% of people said keep class sizes untouched. Leave class sizes alone, keep them as is. That was one of their top priorities, as well as student mental health staffing, that's social workers, school counselors, things of that. Keeping course offerings active versus having, study halls, and then continuing to preserve technology for student learning. As you take a look at the moderate, where people said, yeah, it's important, but not to that same level, would be keeping transportation services and distances as is and administrative staffing as is as well. The lower priorities to preserve would be current pay to participate fees, field trips, and assistant coaches that we have for athletics. And so that gives a summary of that quantitative feedback that was given. So again, people, it might be a little dark on the screen to see, but we've got it linked for people to see. So we also asked an open-ended question. We said, hey, are there any additional thoughts regarding future reductions or district priorities that you have? And so some of the overall summary was stakeholders showed broad agreement that, hey, there's difficult decisions ahead, but emphasize do what we can to have a minimal impact on students as we can. The sentiment was to encourage board to examine reductions that have less of an impact on students before impacting direct classroom instruction and student services. And there were a bunch of suggestions that people offered about programs and services, but there were varied programs. There was no clear consensus on that. But the consensus was on the three key takeaways that are to the right. So again, the strongest feedback was protect the classroom, make sure that the reductions minimize impact on students' daily educational experience. We talked about some of these class sizes, academic programming, offerings such as that. Number two was to prioritize student supports. That's maintaining supports such as intervention staff, counselors, special education services, mental health supports. Try to preserve those as much as possible. And then look beyond classroom for additional savings. So look at administrative, operational, and non-classroom expenditures that could be reduced first prior to doing things that would impact the classroom and the student. So as we take a look at this, really we have two pathways as we make our decisions on what reductions will go into place. So the left side is really, it's ultimately all the board's decision, but the left side really lands with the board in terms of financial responsibility and taking a look at how much reductions are needed based on the cash balance policy. So currently we've talked about in past meetings, we have a cash balance policy that says in the last year of the forecast, we need to have 90 days cash on hand. The board last time said we either want a 6.7 mil property levy or a 0.75% income tax levy. Looking at that delta, we had to put in reductions to make the 90 days cash on hand in the last day of the forecast work. So this just illustrates that the board, based on feedback of how the stakeholders felt about reduction levels, if you keep it at 90 days cash on hand, the policy the same, and the board goes forward with a property tax levy, that's going to equate to $3 million in reductions to be able to meet that 90-day benchmark. If you reduce it to 75 days, the necessary reductions go down to 1.75 million. If you take it down to 60 days cash on hand in the final year, it goes down to 500,000. If you do the same exercise for the income tax, 90 days is 2.5 billion, 75 is 1.15, and 60 days you don't have to make any reductions. Then you go to the other side, which is the stakeholder feedback. So conceptually you say, hey, the board has to decide how much cash they want to have in hand, how long they want the levy to last, the overall reduction target, and stakeholder input will help guide where those reductions are made, and the first three checkpoints highlight what we've shared already, where priorities are or less priorities are. So when you combine those two together, you get the level of reductions. The board needs to give guidance on the level of reductions or the target we want to hit, and then we can consider stakeholder priorities as we decide which of those will be implemented to help make those reductions. And as we've done and shared in the past, that's done through 4 areas. As a school district, staffing is where most of our reductions come from. Phase 1 was a lot of budgetary reductions. but they come and they impact teaching and learning through the reduction of teaching and administrative staff. It addresses student support and district operations through the reductions of support staff and leadership staff. As we take a look at student opportunities and engagement, supplemental contracts that help support that would be addressed. And then resources and services and family costs are addressed through our operational expenses. And so one of the things that I think is important just to keep at the heart of the work that we've been doing is over the past 10 years, we've been in a solid financial state. And through those years, with the work of the board, we've been able to intentionally invest in programs, services, staffing to enhance the student experience. And we've done that through a variety of ways that are highlighted in those bullet points, been able to take and enhance that student experience. Well, in any life of a school district and where we're at now, that financial status has changed. And we are in a financial challenging time. So all the things we've been able to add of new athletic coaches, of new teachers, new instructional coaches, special education providers, mental health providers that we've been able to add, extracurricular opportunities, we're not here to discuss whether those were of value. They were, and they will remain to be of value. But now we've got to take a look at all of the work of a district and put it through the lens of can we continue to sustain that same level of service, support, and staffing with our current financial conditions. So what we are going to take a look at is how can we make reductions that protect the essential instructional programs, support students, and operational functions before we implement or impact those core educational experiences. So I've shared a portion of this graphic before. This kind of sets our guiding principles to what we're doing with the reduction plan. And again, these reductions won't go into effect until the 27-28 school year. But the left side is something that's always at the heart of our decisions. How can we prioritize the reductions that minimize the impact on students? How can we preserve the core instructional programs and student safety that we have? To the right, how can we do this in phases based on our financial outlook? We've already had phase 1. This is phase 2. Phase 3 will be shared in the next, probably most likely early September. That will share what will happen and what additional reductions will have to be made if levies don't pass, and then continue to provide timely information and keep people informed of the process and where we're at. Our focus today is really on that center green box, is how can we determine sustainable levels of service, support, and staffing as to where we could be as efficient as we possibly can given our current financial conditions. So what I want to do today is I'll make this public to share this with everybody now. And so what I want to do is go through the reduction plan. So the first thing, I'm not going to take time to speak about it because we already have. The first tab is our phase 1 reductions that are going to go into place next school year. Those are all outlined there in the sheet, and that is going to reduce $1.8 million of expenditures going into this year. Now what we're going to take a look at are those 4 areas where, as a district, that I just talked about, that we can make reductions. And the first area is with the elimination or reduction of teacher or administrative positions. Let me just make this size so it shows best it can. All right. So again, at the top, we've put a recurring statement that's been tweaked a little bit, but just for this first tab I want to share with you. It says, the reduction planning process has prioritized protecting students, preserving core instructional programs, and improving organizational efficiency before making reductions that directly affect the classroom. As staffing and resources are reduced, the district's overall capacity also changes. While every effort has been made to minimize impacts on students, each reduction requires remaining staff to assume broader responsibilities and operate with fewer resources. The impacts described throughout this section should be viewed collectively rather than independently. Individual reductions may have differing levels of effect, but as multiple reductions are implemented together, the cumulative effect is reduced organizational capacity, fewer supplemental supports, and a greater reliance on remaining staff to sustain the district's core educational program. So, What I have done in these recommendations is, the first column is just a reduction overview. It tells the area that we're making the reduction from. So even though this is all from teacher and administrative positions, the first row shares that in this phase, we would look at reducing X amount of administrative positions. The second column lets you know what level it's at, whether that's going to be at the district, the middle school, high school, or elementary school. The second gives you the specifics of that reduction. And just for time, Ms. Hausum, I'm not going to read through all of these, but I hope our community will take the time because everything here is a trade-off. Yes, this reduction will save us money, but it will also be a trade-off for how it will impact the responsibilities of those that remain in positions, as well as services and supports and resources that we're able to provide. So as we take a look at this, I'm going to highlight on the reduction specifics and then the amount, and hope that everybody can take the time to look at the trade-off to better understand. So the first one is that we would look to reduce one administrative position. I'm not specific on, I'm going to take the next few months, since this is not going into effect until next school year, to determine which of those positions it will be. I've identified 4 positions that it potentially could be. And so we will be taking time to determine that. And by February, with the rest of the entirety of the plan, we will be able to specifically say, this is the position, this is the person that's impacted. Because as the board knows, but for the community's information, because the reductions will not go into place for a year, we could have resignations, we could have retirements. It's too early to say these specific people are going to be impacted. So that's the first reduction, which would save the district about $100,000 a year. The second one is the reduction of teaching positions, and it follows the same pattern, but just at different levels. So the first is at a district level. We are recommending the reduction of 1 social worker. We currently have 2 social workers in the district. A few years ago, we didn't have any. So this would go to 1. This employee is a contracted service through a contracted provider. So the individual would still have a job, but just not with Strongsville City Schools. And that would save us about $94,000 a year. As we take a look at the high school level, now we talk about protecting the core and preserving student experiences. And so one of the things I want to be clear on, as we take a look at some of these reductions that do impact classroom teachers, we've done so through the lens of where do we take a look at our current financial conditions and where were things that were nice enhancements we were able to have, but we need to be a little more efficient and streamline it a little more based on our current financial conditions. So the first one is the reduction of 2 intervention specialists that support co-taught offerings. That's for students with special education needs in general education classrooms. We will still have co-taught offerings. We will still preserve those in core areas that we need them. We were able to expand them beyond those core areas in recent years, and now it's just reducing that. That would reduce 2 teachers and save the district $145,000. Secondly, again, because of our financial condition, we were able to, these are non-special education course offerings. So at the high school, electives, classes, we offer them, kids sign up. Sometimes you get smaller class sizes. This would set a benchmark of if there's not 15 kids in a class, we're not going to offer the class. We need to be efficient with our resources, and that would help us reduce the courses that we offer, or that would reduce the courses we offer because we offer a number of courses below 15. And based on our current calculations, on our current schedule, we're projecting that that could reduce 6 teaching positions, which would save the district $384,000 annually. And finally, with some restructuring of the English Language Arts Department and looking at some of the electives that are offered there that are enhancements versus core, we could reduce 1 English Language Arts teacher at the high school, which would save $102,000. Moving on to the middle school. In recent times, we've offered in 6th grade and 7th grade double block classes. That means if a class period is 42 minutes, we offer 84 minutes of English Language Arts and 84 minutes of math at the 6th grade level. And at the 7th grade level, we have a double block of math or ELA? ELA. So a double block of ELA. And so this would remove that double block and say all of English Language Arts and math are going to be a single block. 1 period long, 1 42-minute period long. So students' experience in terms of what classes they get will remain unchanged. The length they receive that class will change, And that will give us the ability to reduce 8 teaching positions in 6th and 7th grade, which would save a little over $500,000 a year. The other item that's on there from the middle school is the reduction of a school counselor. A few years ago, we did a master staffing plan. We added a counselor to the high school and to the middle school. We are not replacing the high school counselor this upcoming year. One counselor retired. We did not fill that. And again, 3 has been our core counseling staff at the middle school. And so this would go back to 3 counselors at the middle school, and that would save a little over $72,000 a year. Looking at the elementary level, 2 areas of potential reduction that I'm recommending. We have literacy coaches. We have 2 literacy coaches. This would be reducing down to 1. Literacy coach that provides support and coaching and professional development for teachers in the area of literacy at the elementary level. And then secondly, we have band and orchestra in our district start in 5th grade. When we used to have elementaries that went up to 6th grade, they started in 5th and 6th grade at the elementary level. When 6th grade went up to the middle school, we still kept 5th grade. Most other districts start in 6th grade. So this would be something that, again, it's a trade-off, right? It will take a year of music instruction away from our students, but students would start their band and orchestra experiences in 6th grade instead of 5th grade. And that would reduce 2 teachers and save $190,000 a year. And then every year, we have retirees, and typically, retirees are higher on the pay schedule. You hire employees that are lower on the pay schedule. There's a delta between their salaries and benefits. We're estimating that in 27-28, that would be a savings of about $230,000. And then just looking at our copy counts, that we believe we can reduce some of those expenditures by about $23,000 a year. So that is some of the recommended reductions, those are the recommended reductions for teacher and administrative positions in the district. Again, there is a phase 3. A phase 3 will be shared in the coming months, and it states what will happen if a levy doesn't pass. But this is the reductions that would happen to help offset, the gap in funding that we would have to make the levy last as long as possible. So I'm going to take a drink of water and then see if there's any questions about this tab or any discussion you want to have on this tab before we move to the next one.
Any questions or discussion?
You say stakeholders. Is that us?
Mr. Powell, this is not a public participation this way, but everybody was given the opportunity. This is not a discussion between audience members, so it's with the board.
Any discussion, questions?
I have a couple questions. Where it says the 2 intervention specialists that support co-taught offerings, will some co-taught offerings remain, or does this get rid of them entirely?
No, there will be many
others.
co-taught offerings that still remain. So if you take a look at, English language arts, mathematics, those will remain. These are some more of the elective or other core classes that may see a reduction, but there will be still co-taught offerings to a pretty good level offered at the high school.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain, maybe Jenny, how reducing 5th grade orchestra and band cuts 2 teachers?
Yeah, so within their schedule, obviously, when we offer 5th grade orchestra and band, we split those teachers between mostly the middle school orchestra. We have a high school teacher that goes and also teaches orchestra to 5th grade. So they do individual lessons, and then they do group lessons throughout the day in 5th grade. So what that means is that's that part of their schedule, if they're no longer having to travel to 5th grade, which also travel time is embedded into their schedule as well, they have that open piece there to then fill their schedule with other classes. So as a result, we have to fill their schedule. And so when you look at, just again, the seniority, we still will offer general music in 5th grade to all of our students at the elementary as part of their encore. And so we have teachers teaching those classes. So whether that's bumping, them out, those classes and filling their schedule part-time to go teach general music, that we'd have to fill their schedule with something. And then obviously looking at if we would start in 6th grade, That's another piece of it, where if you're starting new instruments in sixth grade, some of their schedule would be filled with that. So as a result, as we look at the totality of the time that they're teaching fifth grade, that leaves openings. We would need 2 less teachers to cover that entire schedule from sixth to 12th grade, including elementary.
So another way to look at it is to say, at the middle school, there's 2 band teachers that teach some band classes at the middle school and some fifth grade lessons.
Yeah.
When you eliminate those 2 halves of fifth grade lessons are gone, those 2 teachers become 1 teacher.
Yeah.
And the other one's eliminated. Same concept for orchestra.
Okay, so it's unlikely then that the elementary schools are going to have divided days with a half of an, like, for example, right now, every elementary school has 1 general music teacher.
Correct.
That will likely remain intact.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And the last one has to do with the middle school, getting rid of the double blocks. Does that mean those students are going to study halls?
No, what it means is we've taken a look at scheduling options, and we'll be finalizing those in collaboration with the middle school administration and team next year, but no, this plan does not include study halls.
Okay, thank you.
Cameron, you mentioned the middle school going from 3 to 2 counselors and 1 retiring at the high school. How many counselors does that leave at the high school?
So, what's it leave, 5?
5.
5. 5 at the high school, I believe, and then this would leave 3 at the middle school.
It would leave
It
3.
would go from 4 to 3.
4 to 3, okay. Any other questions?
All right, moving on to the next tab, this is where, again, we take a look at the similar framework, but we're taking a look at leadership, leadership staff, as well as support staff. So the first one is taking a look, we looked at this through a different lens. Administrative and certified staff are not hourly, they're salary, so these positions could be looked at more of an hourly or day rate. So looking at our media and productions coordinator, that's currently a full year, 260 days in our world means you work year-round. 215 is typically like a principal contract where you get the school breaks, but mid to late June to end of July, you're not working. And so the savings here is from paying a person for less days to work. So looking at reducing this employee from 260 to 215 days, that would save a little over $15,000 a year. We have administrative assistants that support the different departments. As the board knows, we consolidated and reorganized some of our departments where technology is underneath the umbrella of business services. So this would be the elimination of the administrative assistant position from technology, which would be, that work still exists, it would just be absorbed by the business service administrative assistant staff. As we take a look at the reduction of hours for support staff, there's 3 areas where we're taking a look at. Every building has 1 elementary educational aide. A few years ago, we increased their hours from 6 to 6.75. We feel that we can go down to 6.5 hours and still be able to, go forward with the essential functions and support those professions or positions provide. That saves us a little over $6,000. We would take a look at implementing criteria for when weekday or weekend overtime would be used. So we're looking at reducing weekday and weekend overtime for custodial and technology staff. And so what that would mean for technology staff, that would just mean delays in things getting done until the workday. For the custodial staff, that would mean, what that means in a daily practice is we have absences that we don't have substitutes to cover. So instead of offering overtime to thoroughly clean those areas like we would, it would be go in and sweep and empty trash and do surface cleaning. That's what we'd have to do. So we would be creating criteria to say, hey, when we have so many people out, we can offer overtime. When not, it's going to be this, which we believe would save us a little over $92,000 a year. The last one is reducing hours for employees in the custodial, food service, maintenance, mechanics, and technology departments. All other full-time staff, full-time is 7.5 hours a day. These employee groups, not everybody in the group, but employees in each group work 8 hours a day. So you could reduce their hours by a half hour to make them 7.5-hour employees. Again, the negative is it reduces a half hour a day of pay every day for those employees, which is a significant financial change for those employees. The one way you could take a look at it, though, is you're able to make this reduction, and you are able to, everybody still keeps their job, everybody still keeps their benefit level, but there is a financial impact for that. So what just for clarity, it says and/or. This is a big change for how we've operated for years. I can't talk to anybody that has known any other different than this time schedule. So it's something that we've got time until we get to February to make final decisions, that I would like to study it, see the practical implications of it, and provide a recommendation. But holistically, if we took every employee that is an 8-hour employee and made them a 7.5-hour employee, it would save the district $286,000 a year. Moving on to just reducing and eliminating positions. Again, in better financial times, we were able to add a recess monitor at every building for supervision and earlier intervention for students that were having some behavioral needs. Reducing those 5 positions would save the district a little over $45,000 a year. During COVID, we increased custodial hours for obvious reasons. And even after COVID, we saw that as a benefit to our overall operations and cleanliness. This would reduce some of the positions to more pre-COVID level. So this would eliminate 5 custodial positions, which would save us a little over $361,000 a year. Chartwell's has been our food service management company for a lot of years. Again, all of our food service workers are our employees. We contract with Chartwell's to manage it and also pay for our director of dining services, which is a Chartwell's employee. We feel that we can bring this back in-house and save the administrative costs that are part of Chartwell's, which would save us about $87,000 a year. And then finally, taking a look at the reduction of 4 food service workers at 4 of our buildings. Based on current meals per hour metrics, we believe we could do this and still operate well at those buildings. And these are for hourly workers, and that would save us a little over $45,000 a year. Finally, in transportation, we implemented a concept this year to pay 9 drivers an additional 20 minutes. That would help with additional hours for going back and forth for the elementary, as well as field trips. And it had some success, it had some challenges, but we're not looking to go forward with that. This is not a 27, 28, this is next year. So this will save us a little over $21,000. Currently, as you know, our radius for transportation is 1.25 miles. This would increase it another quarter mile to 1.5 miles. That would reduce 19 routes. 19 routes, what that means is elementary is 1 route, middle school is a 2nd route, high school is a 3rd route. So that could reduce, 4 drivers, and that would save $136,000 a year, and obviously put more responsibilities for more families on getting their kids to and from school. Again, I'll pause there to see if there's any questions or discussion on this group.
And just for clarity for that transportation number, that's a net number. There will be a loss of revenue as well from the state, as we're funded by ridership and mileage. So there's a placeholder in there for that reduction in revenue, but we have to study it a little bit longer, a little bit more to get an actual. So there is a conservative placeholder in there, but we'll see. So it's that the numbers reflected there is the reductions netted against a potential loss revenue.
If we're eliminating 5 recess monitors, I'm making the assumption that's 1 from each elementary building. How many does that leave monitoring a recess period?
It depends on the building and the size of the building. It's anywhere between 3 to 4 monitors.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Moving on to supplementals, so this would be taking a look at, again, these are not people losing their employment. It would be reduction of additional stipends or supplementals or extended days that are provided. So to start with, again, as it's the recurring theme, we've added things back, and now it's time to take a look at, pausing that addition. So we took a look at athletics a handful of years ago and reinstated assistant varsity coaches. We added 9 assistant varsity coaches back listed in those sports. This would be not filling those positions in the 27-28 seasons, which would save the district over $60,000 a year. Moving to non-athletic supplementals, at the elementary level and at the middle school, we offer 5 supplementals where people, based on student interest, can select, what kind of clubs and extracurriculars they want to have. We are going to reduce from 5 down to 3. So that's those 6 buildings, each building would reduce 2 supplementals. So we would still have supplementals, but it would just be 3 instead of 5, and still based on student interest. At the high school level, we would reduce 8 advisory supplementals. So those advisory supplementals, those are supplementals such as those who oversee academic competitions or honor societies or different clubs. And then 4 art supplementals that could be, as we said, one of those under consideration is the fall play, to see if we can't make that self-sustainable through its gate revenue. That as well as some other art supplementals. But again, we're going to take a little time, since there's time to do that, to take a look at which of those supplementals specifically we will recommend reduction, but the number would stay the same as 12, and we would hit that target of a little over $28,000 in savings. We have 2 webmasters that are paid a stipend to update building and district websites. We would eliminate those stipends, and they would become a part of, we would just assign them to responsibilities of employees as a part of their duties. And finally, we do have employees that get extended time. So outside of their contracted work year, they work days in the summer to prepare for the school year. And so of those, this time we've selected the instructional integration specialist, school psychologist, and speech pathologist that will be reduced. So they will still have extended days, but depending on the position, we've either reduced it anywhere between 1, 2, or 3 days in the summertime to be as efficient as we possibly can. Any questions on this one? Okay, the final tab is operations. Again, these are typically budgetary savings. We have, as a matter of course, every year we take a look at all of our online services and software. And so we reduce in an annual cadence. We just know that Gizmos, which is a software that helps support science, its subscription is running out, or it's up after the end of this school year, and we're not going to renew it, which would save a little over $12,000. Currently, we use 3 retired teachers to help with KRA and Ames web testing. What that means is they will test the students in the hallway while the teachers stay in the classrooms. We are going to go back to what we've done in the past, which is we will have substitutes in the classrooms, and teachers will test the students. There's a benefit to the teachers testing the students instead of substitutes. There's also a drawback from having substitutes instead of teachers in the classroom. But we will start KRA in 27-28, but we're going to start the Ames Web this year, that transition, and that's going to save over $23,000 a year. Currently, we pay $5,000 for consultants from the Educational Service Center to help support our programming for Tier 2 and Tier 3 PBIS supports, and we will take that all in-house. Since about the time I became superintendent, Andy Heyer, our arts head, and I have worked together to put together an instrument replacement fund. So we own a variety of instruments, from pianos to saxophones to cellos and basses, and for students to use. And so we have, through my budget and high school budget, middle school budget, the district, we've allocated $25,000 a year to help support an instrument replacement program. And then $5,000 goes to our high school and middle school for choral music, since they were fundraising for that music in the past. And so that would be paused until further notice, and we will just have to extend the lifespan of those items and the music that we're using. And then finally, the reduction of expenditures for contracted services via BCBA. BCBA is a company that helps provide support for students with special education needs in the area of behavior. And we believe we could reduce that cost by $80,000 a year. Again, this does not mean we are not going to contract with BCBA and utilize their support. We have trained a lot of our internal staff to be able to be great supports, but we feel based on some of the decisions that were made this past year, we could reduce this line item and still provide the support necessary. Looking at field trips, we've already eliminated in phase one incentive field trips. So that would be, for example, hey, eighth grade, we're going to go to Cedar Point as an end of the year incentive trip. And now we're looking at extracurricular field trips, which would be unified sports and clubs or groups. So they're still going to have field trips. They're still going to be able to go, but we're going to reduce them by 50%. So as an example, last year, our high school unified sports teams were able to go to 10 events. Next, or in 27, 28, they could pick 5 events to go to. So still being able to have good experiences, but just not at the same level. And then finally, in student fees, we have not raised our pay-to-participate fee in 10 years. So the recommendation is to increase it by $75 at both the middle school and high school, which would raise the middle school to $175 a sport, $275 at the high school level, and $825 for the family cap. We have had a one-time trainer fee that was assessed in the past that we would eliminate that, so there would not be an additional trainer fee on top of that. But that would generate an additional $84,000 in revenue for the district that would help defer costs to run our athletic program. Any questions on this? The final tab summarizes that all together. So as you could see, the $1.8 million from phase one is in place. Looking at the FY28 reductions, putting all of that together, that gets to us a total of an annual savings, a reduction of our expenditures of roughly $3.5 million. And so I just want to remind the board to keep 2 things into consideration. Is as we go forward, we need guidance on a specific target that we want to hit. If we say, hey, we want to stay with the $3.5 million, what you have on the plan is what is going to stay on the plan, then that is what we do. If, I'm going to go back to the slides here. Or if you say, hey, we want to adjust our cash balance policy, and whatever you pick, then the direction to us would be figure out which reductions you need to make to hit that new target. And then also just keeping into consideration the stakeholder feedback in terms of where reductions were, or the reduction level, as well as reduction focus. So again, just to summarize here, obviously there was a strong feedback of don't impact the classroom. Don't impact student opportunities. Don't impact special education support, mental health supports. And so, it's a fair question to say, well, in the reduction plan, there were those things in there. And so what I'm recommending to the board for consideration is, yes, those things are in there, but I believe those things are in there, and there will be a trade-off to that if we need to make that level of reductions, but we could still have those services go on and preserve that moving forward, again, with trade-offs that are there that we need to acknowledge and consider. So, Ms. Hausum, I'll turn it back over to you to see any discussions that you want to have further with the reduction plan.
Questions or comments?
I was just going to ask the timeline. Do you need tonight what things that we're kind of uncertain about, or?
Well, if we're coming back on Thursday, I'm fine with Thursday. So I think those are discussions to Because what will happen, here's why I need the time, here's why it's timely for me, is because right as soon as we get done with this, I have to start developing the next phase. And so if you say, hey, let's hit this target, and that means I have to adjust phase 2, those phase 2 items will go to phase 3, which are contingent upon levy passage. Or if there's things on here where you say, I don't like these things on any list, and I don't want, I mean, we could start with right now, which is I don't want it on a phase 2 list. We could talk about those things, or hey, these are things I'd like you to consider and come back on Thursday with feedback on. But the longer it takes for the board to set a target, the longer it takes for us to finalize phase 3 and communicate that and give people enough runway to understand and communicate. Because again, not that the public would know, but today was a day of calling people impacted so they could hear it from us personally, then having a virtual staff meeting with our staff so they could hear it, and then doing this. It's going to be more expansive with a phase 3, so we need that leadway to do that.
And I also add too, for me on my end, at the August 26th, I believe, the second meeting in August, we'll be presenting the forecast to adopt to submit to the state. So if we know what these reductions are, I can incorporate them into the forecast as I'm building the forecast as well.
The one thing that, I want to take time to digest the whole thing, but one thing that stuck out to me tonight when we were talking about the counselors and the underlying trend in the survey for mental health, I feel like 5 counselors at the high school versus, I'm sorry, you said?
It would go down to 3.
3. I feel like that's a pretty wide, that's a big difference. And those middle school kids, I feel like they need, the counselors just as much, if not more than our high school. I'd like to think about maybe keeping that at 4 and waiting until phase 3.
I had the same reaction to the social worker, given that we only have one district-wide at the moment. For me, I'd have to think about, because I agree, but if I only had to keep one, which of those 2, I might lean towards a social worker, just because there's only one then district-wide.
Right.
So I think what would be, I appreciate those thoughts and considerations, and so I think what is important is to think about as we reflect and come back on Thursday, is having the conversation to what is the target for the reductions for this phase. And then here are some of the ones like you and Ms. Bissell both mentioned, like here's ones that are on my mind. And then, we can see where that gets us and where that is in the target. And then, administratively, if there's any delta between what target you set and what we have to do administratively, we could take a look and make those decisions. But yeah, but that's exactly a conversation that would be helpful.
Mrs. Hausum, I would just like to take the time to, I don't know if compliment's the right word, but at least say thank you for the work involved. It is really easy, and I had to catch myself from saying, oh, we should do this different or what have you. But I realized you have spent days, hours, weeks on the plan. And I'm going to take the time to think about the target and the overall financial goal. But I did want to at least acknowledge it. The one thing that struck me is that it was a balanced plan. It's every decision has consequences, and I don't want to lose the opportunity to say that although our goal was to protect students and preserve the core, et cetera, some of these ancillary decisions are going to have consequences. They are going to have consequences. It doesn't take too much thought process to say if that extra help allows a teacher to concentrate on the classroom, we take away that extra help, now the teacher is going to absorb that time. Well, now, time is the thing we don't have enough of. So, you said that at the middle school, those double blocks aren't going to mean study halls. They're going to mean something. They're going to mean at the end of the day, kids that were spending an hour and something minutes a day on English or math are now only spending 45 minutes. And I know I'm really hard on Aaron when we're talking about the report card, et cetera. Well, you know, you can't get a silk purse out of a sow's ear. So these things are going to have consequences. But for me, I'm going to concentrate on where that target is, Cameron. And then from there, we'll be able to make those decisions. But I already anticipate a lot of conversations that are going to be along the lines of, well, you know, you should shift this pawn over here to save this pawn. And I do want to compliment that it's, again, fair is the wrong word, reasonable is the wrong word, but it's balanced, and I do think it addresses our financial needs.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have one more question, maybe just for more information. Where we're looking at the reduction of extracurricular field trips, unified sports is listed, plus club and group, and even as a parent of a high schooler, I really don't know what that means. So if we could get some more examples of what kind of clubs and groups are taking field trips that this would impact.
Sure, and we can do that.
Thank you.
And so the one, just on that topic, we're blessed to have the Education Foundation that funds field trips pre-K to 8. Those are not a part of anything. Those will continue. We're also still supporting other, at the high school level, school-based curriculum field trips. There's an approval process that Nicole and Aaron go through for any field trip. So if there is, those are still available. It's the incentives are eliminated, and then the extracurricular are reduced.
All right.
So with that, as we go to the next agenda item on the board agenda would be the levy plan discussion. So if I may, I'll continue with the survey results relating to that, and then I'll turn it over to George and the board for further discussion. So we had two other questions related to, or in the survey. The first one was a funding question, and it asked, are there any thoughts regarding school finances and the board's priorities in consideration of various funding options that you would like to share? So overall, people that responded expressed a desire for the board to continue to prioritize students while building greater community confidence in future funding decisions. Again, emphasize the importance of transparency, clear communication, and demonstrating that available resources are being directed toward classroom instruction and student services. There were a variety of opinions regarding specific funding options, but there was no clear consensus around a preferred funding mechanism. And again, the strongest common message was that future financial decisions should reinforce trust, clearly communicate trade-offs, and reflect student-centered priorities. So as you take a look at the key takeaways from all of the feedback that was given by the respondents, the first one was to build trust through communication and transparency. That was the most consistent theme. Helping people to better understand the district's financial situation, the rationale behind funding decisions, and the impact of those reductions. Again, prioritize student needs. So that goes without saying. We've talked about that. And which was similar in the first one is look, when you're taking a look at asking more funding, please take a look at looking at administrative, operational, and other discretionary expenditures before reducing direct student services or requesting additional funding. Again, as Mr. Micko said, this is a puzzle and all pieces help support one another. So all of those need to be taken into consideration. Then there was the catch-all question, is there anything else? Anything else you believe the board should consider as it makes its revenue generating and budget reduction decisions? Again, it reiterated the themes expressed throughout this survey, prioritize student, maintain community trust through clear and transparent communication, and give explanations of the financial decisions before they directly impact kids and student support. Just the key takeaways, keep students at the center of decisions, demonstrate stewardship. People encourage the board to continue evaluating all of those other costs outside of classrooms before reducing programs that directly affect students, and then build community trust through communication. They frequently share the importance to continue to explain the financial challenges, the budget priorities, and potential reductions to have stronger community understanding. So if you take a look at putting all of this together, all of the feedback that we've gotten through the 3 open-ended questions, what are some consistent messages that the board should consider moving forward? Again, the consistent messages are the consistent messages I've shared throughout the last couple of times. But the key takeaways: keep students at the center, fiscal stewardship, as we've talked about, build that trust and clarity, and that there really is no clear consensus on funding mechanisms moving forward. Again, comments did not show a clear preference for any single revenue option. The strongest consensus centered around how decisions are made and protecting all the things that we've shared that should be protected moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Hausum, for any other discussion you want to have on the levies.
I'll open it up to the board members. Do we have any questions or discussion? Knowing that we aren't making any voting on either resolution tonight, does anyone have any further questions or any insights since we last met?
I think we've obviously narrowed it down to 2 decision points, and we're not voting tonight, but just talking and listening and understanding throughout the community obviously has been important, and staying aligned with, you're not going to be 100% aligned with everybody, but staying aligned with what the majority of the community is looking for is obviously important, and what we should do as a board is listen to the community, listen to the people, listen to the parents, and make the best informed decision from there. Minimize impact from the cuts that we're discussing, because knowing now that you had discussions with people today, those are real human beings, and difficult conversations is never easy. So anytime we can minimize impact of a human being, obviously that's first and foremost, because they're the people that take care of our kids.
George, can you remind me, the proposed 6.7 mil operating levy, how does that compare as far as our existing renewal and what this additional amount would be?
Yeah, so if you go to the levy reduction spreadsheet, Cameron has on the board, and then the tab, renewal levy, current and past. So there's three sections here. The first section is the current renewal levy. It was voted, the year that was initially approved was 2002. It was voted at 6 mils. With current inflation and House Bill 920, the current residential effective rate is now at 3.37 mils. So from a 6 mil voted to an effective rate of 3.37 mils, that we continue to collect essentially the same amount that it was initially approved for, about $8.3 million, and that represents about $117.95 per $100,000 evaluation, and on a monthly breakdown, it's about $9.83. The one that expired that was initially approved in 2019, that was a 5.9 mil levy. At the time that expired, the effective rate was 4.31. So the total of those two is 7.68. That 4.31 generated about $9.7 million annually. The combined of these two were about $18 million. And then the cost per 100,000 for that 5.9 was $150.85 on an annual basis, and the monthly breakdown was $12.57 per 100,000 on a monthly basis. So the proposed 6.7 mil levy, 3.3 mils of that is the renewal. It will generate about 7.6. If you say, well, how's that different than the one that's at the top, 8.2? We're aligning it with the residential effective rate, while the commercial effective rate is higher, and then also public utility has a higher rate as well. So to bring that back, to keep the same residential rate, there's going to be a drop there. So bring about 7.6 mils. That'll cost the homeowner about $117.95 per 100,000. And $983 for the current portion, which is aligned to what it is now. For the additional portion, which brings it to the 6.7, That'll be about 3.33 mils, which will generate about 7.5 million. So a total of $15.1 million dollars as we discussed. The cost per 100,000 for the new portion is $116.55. Overall, it'll be $234. And then the 100K, or the monthly cost per 100K is about $9.71. For total, it's about $19.54. So in total, how does that compare from the 2019 levy that expired in collection year 2024? So overall, from 2024 to this new proposal, if it's approved, overall, the effective rate would be about 0.98 mils less, so about a mil less in rate. The amount that we would collect would be about $2.2 million less. The annual savings to the homeowner on per 100,000 would be about $35 less than they would be paying in comparison to 2024. And then the monthly per 100,000, the savings there's about $3.86 on a monthly basis for 100,000.
So I followed along because I was reading the guide on my laptop. But to reiterate, the property tax proposal of 6.7 mils represents 3.4 mils of existing tax, a request to the voter of 3.3 mils increased tax. And if we earn their investment, and if we earn their trust, that still is about 1 mil less than what they were paying in 2024.
Correct.
Have I said anything factually incorrect?
No.
I think that's a reasonable message for us as a board to ask our community to support our school district.
I just want to go back to the survey that Dr. I was talking about. I know some of us have already had a chance, and some of us will in the coming days, but I read every single comment that people submitted. And I did want to comment, I know it said there was like no consensus, but there were probably in the realm of 15 total comments that cited either income or property tax. And of those, there was one singular comment that said, I will support income tax. One said, it's an interesting idea, but I don't know very much about it, which is precisely the problem we would encounter, explaining, and I thought our public comment today did a nice job of explaining it, but that's a conversation we'd have to have with the public who's not super familiar with that method yet. And then there was in the range of 10 to 12 comments firmly in support of property tax over income tax. So I did just want to offer that. The numbers were small in terms of how many of those 600 people commented on it, but those that did were overwhelmingly in favor of property tax, and I think that's good information for us to have.
I had the opportunity this weekend to see several of our council people. We were setting up for home days this coming week, and I just casual conversation, asked them what their thoughts were, and unanimously, they support property tax. So then yesterday I had an in-depth conversation with Mayor Persiak, and again, he said the same. He firmly believes that property tax is the way to support our schools. So I know we're not voting tonight, but I just wanted to share that with my fellow board members while we're all here together. Any other comments or questions? All right.
So with that, George, I don't know what we have to do with items 3 and 4 under board other. Do we just skip it?
Yeah, they're listed there as a discussion item.
Oh, okay, you
So we
changed them
changed
already.
it, yeah, we changed them from a discussion item. I guess while we have the topic for discussion item on hand, just something for the board to think about as we get back to Dr. Ryba and myself on by the next meeting for the the amount of the reductions. So and I just had these thoughts as we were presenting tonight. As we're having these thoughts and as I'm preparing the forecast for August, a couple of the factors are bringing back the money from the 070 fund. So that'll require board resolution, and based on the two scenarios, that appears that's going to happen. So that'll be included in the forecast as the assumptions. And then whatever we decide on the reduction plans, those will be included in the forecast as well. So something to think about. And then the last time when I did the forecast, I had mentioned if year 3 is negative, if we have the 15 million plus these reductions, that may change year 3 being negative, so we might not get that letter from the state, which in my view, it's a good thing that we don't have to do the reduction plan. We've kind of did it ourselves. So we'll see where that number ends up as we do the forecast, and we'll be presenting that at the August, I can't remember what date that Thursday is, the 26th or 27th, whatever the Thursday is, the fourth Thursday of the month.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, George.
Yep.
Any other conversation on the levy topic before I move on to business services?
Seems like we're good.
Okay, I have one action item for you. Be resolved upon my recommendation that the Board of Education accepts the change order proposal for the soil correction in the amount of $157,397.69 from the January 22nd, 2026 agenda for the SMS turf replacement at Serpentini Field. The total cost of this project with Field Turf USA shall not exceed $750,312.56. The amount I shared will be from the 003 Permanent Improvement Fund, and the remaining will be from the 004 Building Turf Fund.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bissell, second by Mr. Holmes.
So anytime you do a project and you start moving turf away, there's the potential for issues. So what we found is on the scoreboard side, we have water lines that run underneath the field to allow water access for our players on the home side and what would be the scoreboard side. And so when they were peeling off the turf field, the equipment started to sink into the soil. And then they have probes to go down there. And so one of the water lines over there is believed to have had a slow leak that never made it to the surface and seen. So they tried to wait a couple weeks to let it dry out. The soil has not dried out. What that means is they start to dig up the soil area. They do cement stabilization within the soil for it to harden, and then they replace the top dressing and replace the rocks so that the field will be in good shape moving forward. So obviously, it's a big number. This number is a not-to-exceed number. So hopefully, once they get in there and start moving things around, we're able to be less than the 157,000, but that's the maximum number that would be there. And then this will delay the project for a few weeks. But Mr. Kepler has contingency plans for for practice and games if needed.
While we're on that subject, can we, just for the public, because it did also come up in that survey, can you remind, I'm bleeding. Can you remind the public about how those turf projects are funded? Because it's not the general fund.
Yeah, correct. So all of the turf projects are funded through donation dollars. So the original 2 football fields at the middle school and high school were funded through donation dollars. These replacement fields have been funded through donation dollars. As you can see, this is the first time we've had to put some cost to the Permanent Improvement Fund. That's not general fund dollars. That's a fund for capital improvements, simply because, we budgeted accordingly and we had some additional funds in there to cushion, but with this amount, that can't be covered. So no general funds are used in the football turf project. It's all through private donations. This is the one exception because of the unsuitable soil, which sometimes you find in construction projects.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You are not going to interrupt the meeting, or we will have the officer remove you. Thank you.
Nobody can talk. This is only a discussion for the board.
That's how a board meeting works.
$157,000. You're getting $80,000
If you will not, I'm going to give you,
$1,000. Children are losing
officer, if you could
services.
please have him go, thank you.
Children are losing services, teachers are losing jobs, and you're worried about.
Any other discussion or questions for Dr. Ryba?
Dr. Ryba, the slow leak, how are we addressing that?
So when they go down in the field, what they are going to do is permanently shut off the water to the facility on that part of it.
Okay.
Whether it's going to be comprehensive or not to both sides, I've got to check with our business team, but they are shutting off the water, and we'll have water access otherwise.
Thank you.
Any other? Hearing none, George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Next on our agenda is our adjournment. Meeting will be adjourned at 9:45. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bissell, second by Mr. Helms. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Mr. Helms?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes. Motion carries. We have no other business, so I want to wish everyone a good night.